Now I will be inviting the Swami Kripa Mayanandaji. And they will be angry with me, but you know, all the 80 brahmacharis that were there in the Belur Mart in a training center, and we were together 2 years, he was the only person who used to get up every day early morning and every day attending the prayer, and most of the time me used to give some, God is here, God is there, God is there. So why should I have to go to temple in this cold weather? So, but that is, he really is a blessed soul. I love him very much, and I have a great respect and appreciation for him. And please come, and he will be giving us an idea. Sri Ramakrishna, a great mystic. Swami Kripa Mayanandaji. The time 20 minutes, and question answer.
Friends, it's so wonderful to meet you again. Don't pay heed to what Swami Ishatmanji told at the end. It was just a praise and his love for a friend, nothing more than that. But what Ishatmanji told about having faith in God, having simplicity, and trying to protect yourself, those are all the beautiful stories that he told. And wonderful talk of Swami Tyaganandaji about 3 great gifts of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was a great mystic. That's what the topic of my discussion today. And you know the mystic. Mystic is the one who, through contemplation and surrender, he gets absorbed in the absolute or the reality beyond the perception of the senses, who transcends the understanding of the senses and the intellect and reaches the absolute, the transcendental reality, the ultimate reality, what is called God-realized persons. There are many God-realized persons, many mystics. We know Brother Lawrence of Assisi. We know Saint Francis of Assisi, Brother Lawrence, the great devotee of Jesus. Maestro Eckhart, of not very far away time, he was also a mystic. The poet Rumi, he was a mystic. Kabir Das was a mystic. They all had the realization of God. All incarnations of gods, prophets, and great teachers are mystics because they have gone beyond the sense world to the absolute world of absolute reality. So, about Sri Ramakrishna, he was a great mystic. On that aspect we are seeing Sri Ramakrishna considered as Avatara. Swami Vivekananda said him to be the greatest of the Avatara Varishtha. He just wanted to say he came to the time when people had started losing faith in dharma, in religion, in the spirituality, in God himself, and he had to revive that faith in human hearts that God is real, God can be realized, God is the ultimate. That faith he stored in the hearts of human beings at the time of doubt, through that developed through the scientific, technological, psychological or materialistic progress that came. At that time to come with that power, great power that he came. That's why Swami Vivekananda said him to be Avatara Varishtha, the superior most among the Avatara. He was not classifying the Avatara, one is superior, one is inferior. But he was saying the Avatara, the same Avatara who came as Krishna, who came as Rama, who came as Jesus, who came as Buddha, came as Sri Ramakrishna and this time he brought the greatest powers because the challenge was very huge challenge was there. So that was the reason he said. That aspect is there. But about the mystic aspect of Sri Ramakrishna, you know that Sri Ramakrishna, when he was very child, he was just 6 or 7 years old, he was walking through the paddy field. And just the scenery happened, the dark cloud, rain cloud came, and across the rain cloud, a flock of cranes, white cranes that just flew. It was such a beautiful sight. The combination of this dark, somber cloud and pure white cranes. And he fell unconscious. He fell to the ground. What he saw, that experience was not fainting. It was going to the superconscious state. It was going to the mystic state of experience. He experienced the beauty of God in this earthly beauty of cloud and the crane. He could feel that, and he was absorbed in the superconscious state at the age of 6 or 7. When he was asked to study in the local school of his village, Kamarpur, he said, I don't want to study this just bread-winning education. You earn, then you become priest, earn some money, make your livelihood. The study, the knowledge should be to make us free. Sa vidya ya vimuktai. Ya vidya sa vimuktai. That is the real knowledge which frees us, which gives us freedom. Other than that, every knowledge just for earning sake is not the true knowledge. I want the highest knowledge. Ya vidya sa vimuktai. So that is the real knowledge I need. He said when he was just a child, like that. Then after that, when he became youth, he was taken to Kolkata. His elder brother Ram Kumar thought he should learn something just to survive in the world. Otherwise, what he will do? And then by chance, it happened the temple was built of Divine Mother Kali. Gorgeous, most beautiful temple of that time was built in Kolkata at a village called Dakshineshwar. And the temple is called Bhavatarini Temple, Mother Kali, the presiding deity, the Divine Mother of Kolkata, city of Kolkata. And there, by Ram Kumar was the priest, and Sri Ramakrishna was given the duty of decorating the mother and then worshipping other deities in the temple. Later on, when Ram Kumar died, the duty of worshipping the Divine Mother in beautiful image fell on Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna started worshipping the deity. Sri Ramakrishna, the mystic as he was worshipping, offering fruits, showing the light, whatever the ritual was there. That question came to him, am I worshipping just a stone image of the Divine Mother, or is Mother, the divinity, really present there? This is the question of all mystics throughout the world. Is God real? Is God realizable? Is God attainable? That question when comes, then one tries to become the mystic. And that question came to Sri Ramakrishna. Is God real? Am I worshipping real God, or is just decoration of the image made of stone and offering some fruit because of some rituals? With this question and not finding the answer, God not revealing, was too much to this great mystic. And one day he was just meditating like that. Life became unbearable to Sri Ramakrishna. Without God, how can I live? Life is worthless to live without realizing God. That question came to Sri Ramakrishna's mind. And Sri Ramakrishna wanted to give up his life in the temple. If you do not reveal to me, life is worthless. I want to give up this life here and now. At that time, he just fell down on the ground. And he describes that wrong. Then I saw an ocean of light with huge waves coming towards me. Finally the waves drowned me. I was under the waves. And after that I do not know what happened. But I was immersed in the bliss. And how long I was in that state, I don't know. And when he came back, the word was there, Mother. Mother, you are just speaking Mother. It was the realization of God in a very mystic way. Whether he saw the form of the Divine Mother in illumined form with 4 arms and her graceful form or not, it is not described. But definitely he had a vision, mystic vision of the Divine, of God in that ocean of light. That was Sri Ramakrishna's mysticism. that turned into God realization. After that, mother became a part of his life. He was never separated from the Divine Mother. And slowly Divine Mother took charge of her child and then started guiding him to practice the spiritual disciplines through other means. All different kinds of spiritual practices, as we're told in the Vaishnava Tantra, was practiced by him, as told in the taking the Rama as the duty, that was told through Ram Lala. As she became like Radha to please Krishna, to realize Krishna. Like that, it was all happening one after another. The success was coming, and finally he realized God through all the means. And then it was Advaita. One day, one teacher comes to him and said, "Do you want to study Vedanta?" He said, "I don't know. I have to ask mother." Then the teacher, who was a realized soul, Totapuri was his name, he saw that this grown-up man has to ask his mother to realize. His face shines like a knower of God. His so much potentiality is there in him to understand the truths of Vedanta, to remain in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and yet he wants to take permission from the mother like a child. To the surprise of the would-be teacher, Sri Ramakrishna didn't go to his earthly mother, he went to the Divine Mother's temple. And after a few minutes he came back, the face beaming with joy, and he said, "Mother told me that for this purpose I have brought the teacher for you. You have to learn through him the Vedanta." And then Sri Ramakrishna started practicing Vedanta after taking sannyasa. He took sannyasa vows and he practiced Vedanta. And in Vedanta, while teacher was practicing, he taught him what is reality, how to meditate on the formless, absolute aspect of God. And to his surprise, Sri Ramakrishna just reached that state. He had to struggle a little. You read those who have read the life of Sri Ramakrishna know that it was difficult for him to forego the blissful form of the Divine Mother. Whenever he tried to meditate, Mother would come and could not go beyond that. He said to his teacher, "I can't go beyond the Mother's blissful form." But the teacher was very strict. He knew that he can understand. He had the capacity, he could understand. And he brought something sharp and put on his forehead near between the eyebrows and said, "Meditate up here." Then he meditated. Mother came again, and Sri Ramakrishna described poetically, "I used the knowledge as the sword and cut the form of mother into two." That is, through the process of knowledge, he said, form is a limited thing. The ultimate reality is formless. The Divine Mother, which appears as the form, is in reality the formless, absolute, infinite existence. I understood that. I utilized that knowledge, applied that knowledge, and the mind went to the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when nothing remains in that Samadhi, and that mystical experience of the Absolute, where the body consciousness doesn't remain, where the world vanishes, where ego absolutely goes away. What remains is only that absolute reality. In that state comes Aham Brahmasmi, the self, individuality and the ultimate reality become merged in one. In that state, Sri Ramakrishna went that very night when he had sannyasa. Teacher thought he had to practice. For teacher to attain that state, it took 40 years. And this person, just that very night, he can reach to that state. Even after knowing that he is an extraordinary student, he couldn't imagine that much. And Sri Ramakrishna was that in that mystical experience of the absolute reality, the bliss absolute, he was merged. And after that, Sri Ramakrishna practiced how people, Christians, they worship God, how Muslims worship God, or he wanted to know so much of curiosity by the will of Divine Mother. Holy Mother said, Sri Ramakrishna didn't do this just by calculation that he will have to preach the harmony of all faiths. It was just made by the Divine Presence, the Divine Mother, whom he never left. That her plan it was to produce such a mystic person, such a mystic avatara. that will be a preacher to the whole mankind through his practice to say, all faiths are true. I have practiced all faith and all lead to that one reality. Reality is one, called variously by various people. Wise call it by various names, but truth is one, said the ancient scriptures of Rig Veda. Sri Ramakrishna proved that again. For that was this importance of this mystic. No other spiritual practitioner, no other avatar or prophet has practiced so many different ways, the different paths of religion. Sri Ramakrishna is unique in that way. And what he said, the God is real. That was Sri Ramakrishna's approach. Mairi bolchi Ishwar achen. I said truly, God is, and God is realizable. God is reality. It's not just a vague interpretation or something figment of the mind of few persons. It is there. Try to understand. If you want to go beyond all problems of life, existential problems of life, realize God. You can go, you have the capacity as a human being to go beyond all problems of life. That was this great mystic's teaching. And after that, he practiced sadhana. And after passing so long years in continuous devotion and spiritual practices and ascending the highest pinnacle of spiritual realization, Sri Ramakrishna developed a habit of dwelling in God-intoxicated state. He could not live for a single moment without the thought of God. God was in his dream. In his awakened state, in his every breath, in his every talk or discussion, in his pain, in his ecstasy. Although he was married in the meantime, he was not, so to say, a family man. He renounced his materialistic worldly life for God. Although he formally took sannyas before his Vedanta sadhana, he never looked like a typical ochre-clad monk. Rather, he looked in appearance like a plain living rustic gentleman. In fact, he remained ever as an innocent divine child, fully dependent on Supreme Being, whom he looked upon as his own real mother. Whatever and whenever he required anything, he insisted childishly from his mother, who fulfilled his demands. Whenever he wished, he got the vision of his mother. He talked with her, cried to her, and always got her responses. Very frequently he remained in a state of trance called Bhava Samadhi, and at one time he remained in that state for 6 months at a stretch. Any ordinary man, if ever succeeds to attain such state, can never return to survive. But Sri Ramakrishna had to survive as he came on earth as a God incarnation with a definite mission for the benefit of mankind. So, in his such condition, he was commanded by Supreme Being to remain in Bhava Mukha. Bhava Mukha is the state, as Swami Tyaganandaji was saying, that state between the divine realization and the worldly perception. You can connect with the divine and you can connect with the world. And that intermediate stage, the threshold, is called Bhava Mukha. That was the command of the Divine Mother Kali. Remain in Bhava Mukha, all drawing from the divine and distributing that to the world. That he could do because he could go from this perceptible world to the divine world. He had that communion going. People used to call him that a person who lived and died many times in his life. That was his person. Whenever he used to go in Samadhi, he was as if dead to the world. And whenever he came down from the Samadhi, he would interact with the people with so much of love, kindness, compassion, and the gift, as Swami Tyaganandaji was saying, give to all. His very presence was the gift. His very words were the gift. That gift he always distributed. The success of Advaita Vedanta sadhana led Sri Ramakrishna to attain Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, the highest spiritual experience one can perceive when one merges his own self with the Supreme Self. As per Advaita Vedanta, a person attaining such state is a Brahmagyani, to whom the Supreme Self or Brahman is alone real and the rest of world is unreal. As said in the dictum, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Sri Ramakrishna didn't just stop there and kept toiling with his spiritual practices. He realized that Brahman alone is real and omnipresent, and Jagat is its manifestation of its glories and grandeur. Brahman is both the source and the sink of Jagat, that he said as Brahman Nitya Jagat Leela. The cycle of creation, preservation and destruction is the sporting Leela of the Supreme Being, which is like being ferried from Nitya to Leela and from Leela to Nitya. According to Thakur, a person with such realization is called Vijnani. So Sri Ramakrishna said, not only Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, that was said in the scriptures. He brought Brahman Nitya Jagat Leela. This Leela belongs to same Nitya. Leela is the drama, the theatre, the sport going on of that reality, that one reality, absolute reality. That reality appears as this beautiful world of our self-perception. There is no difference. Just we have to bring that divinity when we deal with the world, and then we find that bliss and the purity of divine. Sri Ramakrishna was a rarest kind of mystic. Very frequently and with no effort, he could move to trance state and could talk to God or enjoy the ecstasy. Returning back to normal state, he would discuss God, would sing and dance in the name of God. He never preached or lectured in public gathering, rather taught in a small group of people sitting around him, very lucidly and with parables, and citing examples from everyday life. Going through his biography and gospel, we find his prime advice to mankind was to seek God. Once when Shambhu Charan Malik, a dedicated devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, sought his blessings to spend all his money for good purposes such as building hospitals and dispensaries, making roads and digging wells, etc., Sri Ramakrishna discouraged him by saying, "It would be good if you can do these things in a spirit of detachment, but that is very difficult. Whatever you may do, you must always remember that the aim of this life of yours is the attainment of God and not the building of hospitals and dispensaries. First attain God. And if God commands you to build hospitals and dispensaries and schools, then you do that. Then only you can do without your ego. Otherwise, ego will feel, I built this hospital, see the school, I have built this school. Like that, ego will come and all your devotion will flee. First realize God, first purify your mind, first reduce your ego, and then do good to the world. Then only you can do real good to the world. Otherwise, you will always hanker for your own glory, even in doing service to the world, which will dampen your spirit of devotion. Sri Ramakrishna, a great mystic, is the only avatara with images are not imagined and sketched, but real photographs taken by the latest camera of that period and by expert photographers. We are so fortunate to live in the world where he lived and moved until just 137 years ago. That is what the great mystic, the great avatar Sri Ramakrishna, and we are in the world very close in the time of the fast. 2000 years Christ was living. 2500 years ago Buddha was living. Krishna was living perhaps 5000 years ago. Brahma was living even before that. Still we feel their presence when we meditate. Sri Ramakrishna is so proximity to us historically that as if it was yesterday, 137 years just ago, our grandparents' age. And Sri Ramakrishna lived on this earth heart on this earth was in divine communion always, the great mystic. We are so fortunate. May that Sri Ramakrishna, who is always with us, bless us to have our love of God and have faith in us that we can realize God and transcend our limitation of our ego and our ignorance and attain the knowledge of the Supreme Self. Thank you.